Once upon a time there was a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. She got this name because she always wore a red cloak. One morning her mother packed a basket of goodies to take to her grandmother who lived on the other side of the woods. Her mother gave her directions for a shortcut to Grandma's house and warned her not to talk to strangers. The wolf, who was looking for food, was listening at the window and quickly went to Grandmother's house. Little Red Riding Hood stopped along the way to pick some flowers, giving the wolf time enough to get there first. The wolf took the shortcut and arrived at Grandma's and knocked lightly on the door. He knocked and knocked, but there was no answer. The wolf let himself in. Grandma was not home. The wolf, knowing that Red Riding Hood would arrive soon, poked through Granny's wardrobe to find a night jacket and frilly sleeping cap. A few minutes later, Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into bed and pulled the covers up close to his neck. "Who is it?" he called in a crackling voice. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "Oh, how lovely! Do come in, my dear," croaked the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the cottage, she could scarcely recognize her grandmother. "Grandmother, your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter?" she asked. "Oh, I just have a cold," squeaked the wolf, adding a cough at the end to prove the point. "But, Grandmother, what big ears you have," said Little Red Riding Hood, as she became more and more frightened. "The better to hear you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "But, Grandmother, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "The better to see you with, my dear." "But, Grandmother, what big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood as she backed off, getting closer to the door.
"The better to eat you with, my dear,"
roared the wolf, and leapt out of the bed and began to chase the little girl. She ran out the door shouting, "Help, wolf!" as loudly as she could. A zookeeper who was searching in the woods for a wolf that escaped the zoo heard her cry and ran towards the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf and tied him up and locked him in his van. He then drove Little Red Riding Hood back home, where her mother and grandmother were waiting. "Oh, Grandmother, you weren't home, and there was a wolf in your bed, and he tried to eat me." "There, there, child. I had gone shopping and stopped at your house for a visit. I must have just missed you." Little Red Riding Hood was glad to be home again, with her mother and grandmother.